On this episode of RC Kicks, well, it's been 1 year since I quit my job and went full-time on YouTube. Anyway, we look back at the last year and also what's coming in the future, so stay tuned to find out more. Hi and welcome to RC Kicks. On today's show, well, it's been a year since I went full-time doing RC Kicks on YouTube. So in this episode, we're going to talk about quite a large subject, and that is everything that's been going on in the last year, what's coming in the future, what have I found over the year, is it a sustainable business model, can you do this full-time, and what are the challenges and what's coming in the future. So let's kick off with some of the highs. Now, this video, I have filmed this about 10 times now, and it's quite a big subject, and I tend to ramble from one place to another. So I'm trying to keep on track and not move around too much. But the good things, well, it's been a fantastic year for me personally. I really loved doing this job. It is freeing. It gives me options of the days that I want to do stuff versus days I don't. If I want to take a day off, I can take a day off to do other things. This is fantastic. I get to take my children to school. But that doesn't mean it is all just roses. There is tons and tons of work that goes on in the background. Hours and hours of editing, filming, building, painting, all that aspects of it. And you've got to do it in a reasonable time frame. So there is a lot of pressure to keep producing content and to make content that gets better and better quality all the time. And then you have the crunch points of trying to produce better quality faster, and then trying to find what people want to watch and what people don't want to watch versus the amount of effort it takes to create it. But in general, as you look at it, it is brilliant. If I can get it to a sustainable level, I will be the happiest person alive. It's a great job, and I love playing with RC cars every day, but it's not all roses. So I've made a list of my good points. Being your own boss, that is the biggest one. Having you deciding on your time. Now, time, believe it or not, is the most valuable asset in the world because you cannot buy it. And this has been playing on my mind for a long time. And this is what drove me to give up a full-time job and go to do something like this. If a lot of you probably don't know that I used to be a digital pathology technical services manager, and I used to have a job supporting a team where we were installing a lot of systems in the NHS and things like this, and big projects for medical things. So it was a lot of out of hours working, and then it was office based. So I was doing so many extra hours, and it got to the point where I realized that the most valuable asset in the world is time. Not money, time. You can't buy it. Talk to Steve Jobs, I'm pretty sure he'll tell you time is more valuable than money because he ran out of time and he had all the money in the world. So that played on me for a long time, and being that I was away so much from my family and things like that, it just wasn't a good deal. So I started the channel about a year and a bit before I decided to go full-time with this, but all that kind of pressure of the work, and I've done it over a long period of time, I decided it was just, I can't do it anymore. So I thought I'll plow into doing something for myself. The hardest thing is, like I've covered before, is making it a viable concern while you're small. Now, there is a real issue with being a small channel on YouTube, especially in a niche market. And that is that you do the same amount of work as a big channel, but what you actually receive in exchange for that is if you spend 2 days filming a video and a day editing it and only 1,000 people look at it, you earn almost nothing, £5, say. Now, if you're a big channel and you do the exact same amount of work and your channel's really big and you get 130,000 people viewing it, you made £500. And if you do 2 or 3 videos a week, you can see where it's going. So what happens is there's a real challenge that smaller channels die because they're not sustainable, and you're only left with 2 or 3 big channels. So if you watch a smaller RC channel, regardless of who it is, there's lots of amazing people working really hard. think about supporting them. A lot of them will probably have Patreon, or even if you get in contact with them and just send them £2 or £3 from PayPal as a friend's, you know, £2 or £3 per person, times by they've got, say, 3,000 subscribers, that can support them for 4 months. And that's the big thing I'd like to push out to all you guys and girls. If you like someone's channel and they're small, support them a little bit. Just £2. Send them £2, or subscribe to them and share their videos, or because they are not doing it for the money when they're small. They are doing hundreds of hours and they're really not making anything for it. Also, if you are a RC business, think about reaching out to them. They can give you some advertising. Granted, they might only be small, but at best, they're only going to ask for a kit at cost. Well, if you're a business and you are getting kits in to sell, it's cost you nothing to support them, and you're going to get your brand out there, which means that as they grow. So that's something that I would push back to the RC shops, especially in the UK. America seems to be much more geared up for this, but UK businesses don't really seem to do much advertising. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation, where, you know, the small RC channels make no money, but they have to pay through the nose for all their kits to make content, so they can't do that much, or the channels die because it's too expensive. The big channels, then the big suppliers will just send them cars so they can make lots of content. See, so it's kind of, there's that big challenge there. A lot of people always come back to me and say to me, oh, you should support the RC businesses. You know, you shouldn't be bringing in things like Banggood and things like that. And I can see why. But what you don't understand is Banggood is probably the most viable business for a small channel. Banggood really, to take my hat off to them, they really understand. And they actually will send you a kit free of charge for you to review, and if you put links to it, you get a small token amount back. So if someone buys something for £50, you might get £2, but then you get the kit for free and you get to make content. So you can see why this has become quite popular with RC channels, but not everybody wants to do that. I like doing certain things from Banggood, but I'm not going to just do tons and tons of Banggood stuff, because that's not what my channel's about. And there's a few other channels that are like that as well. So, you know, you've got to look back at the RC companies. Also, the big manufacturers, there's a lot of manufacturers who don't really, not the American ones, more the sort of Japanese ones, that don't actually work with media people, YouTube channels and things like that. So, you know, that could really help boost some channels. And there's a lot of channels, take Tamiya Legends, that has been pushing out Tamiya content for year after year after year with no actual connection to Tamiya whatsoever. So Tamiya's having all this advertisement and they don't reach out at all to him. So there you go. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off on a bit of a rant anyway. So that's one of the challenges as well. Like I said, running costs, what it costs to produce the content. If I buy a car for £500 and I do 2 or 3 videos and I make £50 back from it, it's not a viable ongoing aspect. And that's my personal big challenge, is I really want to do some of the American, the Armours, the Traxxas and stuff like that, because I really like that stuff as well as I like the Tamiya and Kuroshio kits. I like to do a bit of everything, but it's so expensive, and obviously they're American based mostly, so they like looking at the bigger American channels, and that kind of makes sense. And then obviously England's are very small, so they're not really interested in supporting outside of America. So again, that makes it a big challenge as well. So really the goal of what's coming in the future is I really want to do 3D printing stuff, and I want to do one-off cars, modifications and stuff like that. But the problem is, when you're small, to invest 2 weeks or 3 weeks in designing and doing one video is a big gamble, because it may only do 10,000 views. Well, 10,000 views over 3 weeks is not going to do you anything. So the problem is you get kind of trapped when you're small into producing more simpler content, but more often, because the risk reward is, if I make a bad video, in 2 days time I'll make another video that will do okay, it covers it. Whereas if you invest 3 weeks in one video and it doesn't zoom to the moon and it only does 5,000 views, well, especially if you're doing it full time, it's too much of a risk. But that's where I really want to be. I want to be doing much more modifications. The challenge with that is you need to actually have a machine studio. What I mean by that is I can't do grinding and things like that in the studio, because everything would get filthy. So you need to have a separate location to actually do that. So that's a bit of a challenge. Also, there's the cost of getting the 3D printing stuff, and then the computers and CAD and all this kind of stuff. But that's where I really want to go with it, to do more bespoke one-off stuff. But that's going to be more of a long-term goal, that I will slowly transition into that when I can produce, say, 3 videos that I know will cover my bare minimums for the month, and then I can take a gamble on 2 or 3 more extreme videos that are more like time intensive, if you will, or they're longer. But at the moment I need to be putting out a video every 2 to 3 days to just keep things moving along. So it does limit what I can actually produce. And I think a lot of small channels do get stuck into that rut until they actually grow to a certain level where there's a big margin that if I don't do a video for a week, I still make enough for the end of the month to cover my costs and live, if you know what I mean. So that's where I plan to go. The streaming, one thing I really am going to push doing more on the channel is streaming. Now the problem is I live out in the countryside and our internet is pants. Is terrible. So if I stream and it drops, it basically kicks everybody out, and that's what happened to me, luckily, right at the end of the last streaming I did. But we're supposed to be getting fiber to the house in the next month or so. So once that happens, I will be streaming loads more. So I'm thinking about doing more live streams, just talking live streams, but also streaming builds as well. So what I'll do is, while I'm building and filming, I'll stream it. So people can drop in whenever they want. So this is something I'm thinking of doing as well, because it will be much more stable and I'll have a much faster internet connection that I know I can rely on. So that's kind of where I kind of plan to go. Now the projections are up to Christmas is about as far as I can go with it. I'm hoping the trend that I saw last year is what I'm going to see this year, because we basically ramped up from August right up to peaking at Christmas, and then after Christmas it come back down. January, February were quite good, and then it dropped back down again, and it's kind of following last year's view cycle, if you will. Now hopefully if I get the same trend again, by the time we get to Christmas, after Christmas it should trend down again, but it should still be higher than this year. So hopefully it will then get into the sustainable point. Now the channel became sustainable for 2 months. That was November, December and January. 3 months. It hit the minimum and now it's dropped back down. Now it's not that far off the minimum if I don't spend anything on the channel, but I've been putting every penny back into the channel just to try and keep it moving. So that's the target, is to keep going until Christmas, and hopefully if I see an uptrend again at Christmas, then hopefully we will go into sustainability. If we don't see the same trend and by sort of February, March it hasn't gone anywhere, I think what I'll probably end up doing is dialing it back, going and getting another job, and then just doing videos as and when. So I've given it, because that means I've basically given it a year and a half to just become sustainable. And I'm not talking about vast amounts of money here. This is like making £1,000 a month. So that's the goal to trying to get to. So it's, you know, it's bittersweet, like any business. If you start your own business, you have your ups and you have your downs, and you, at the beginning, you have to invest everything that you've got, which I've kind of done, and then just hopefully that you'll get over the hump and become sustainable. So the biggest takeaway I can say, if you like and you watch an RC channel and it's a small channel, just think about throwing them a couple of quid, because it will help by the number of people that watch. You know, that's the biggest thing. And for me, me to get this far has been completely down to my patrons. The patrons basically support 30 to 40% of my income per month is purely from the Patreon people. So without them, you would have no videos. So I'm pretty sure that's the same for all the other small channels. So if it wasn't for those people, there would be no RCKicks, which means that you would be watching something, you would not be watching anything. Now times that by all the small RC channels, you'd have no content to watch. So even if it's just £1, £2, $2, whatever, get in contact with them, support them, because they are working crazy hours doing editing and basically putting everything back into the channel anyway. So another highlight, that's another real highlight over the last year, is watching the RCKicks Facebook group grow. It's now pretty much at 4,500 members, and it is run and supported by Jenny, who does it completely out of love. And what's been really good is the environment has been very safe and well moderated. There is no junk in there. Everything that's in there, all the people that are vetted, they are all people that invest time and effort in it. We basically turn away probably about 40% of the people that actually want to join. So it's actually grown into quite a good environment that's very safe. We have a few women who are actually in there as well, which is brilliant to see that it's a safe environment for them. We don't have any hate or anything like that. And it's, even though it's grown to like 4,500 people, which is quite large for an RC group, that it is well maintained and well looked after. So I can highly recommend going and joining. And it's not down to like just Tamiya. It can be anything, any manufacturer, any RC, that kind of stuff. So it's not like, oh, if you jump on there and you're a Traxxas person and you post something about your TRX4, people will respond to it. If you post about your Tamiya stuff, people will respond to it. If it's your Team Associated, whatever, monster trucks, anything like that can all go on there, and everybody is friendly and kind and won't shoot you down in flames. Anyway, thanks very much. Please like and subscribe and spread the word of all your favorite little RC channels. Thanks very much. Bye bye.